It's something of a windy day today. This is Thursday, I think, which will be I can't even remember the date. Doesn't matter. It yeah, it's phenomenally windy. You can probably hear the squeak in the background where the net curtain, which is wedged in the door, is sort of being blown about. Actually, I'll show you. It's easier. When the wind blows through this valley, it blows rather ferociously. Anyway, let's get on to the topic of this video. I listen to other channels. I respect the channels that I listen to. Some of them will say that they don't listen to other channels because it will interfere or influence what they're saying. So they're keeping it pure. Jason of Archaics being one, Sonia of the Tree of Knowledge being another that come to mind. Now, from my perspective, listening to Jason of Archaics channel, Sonia of Tree of Knowledge, Dr. Narco Longo of Old World Florida, Karimo Ahu channel, Adrian Elise, Simplicity Revealed, Lana A. Labonte, and many, many more. That's just off the top of my head. As Jason says, it's all about breaking patterns, and its patterns are the key to so much of this reality. So for example, right now I am breaking pattern because normally I wouldn't make a video when it is so windy, but it's like, well, let's do something different. What is the reason for this? From what I can see, this reality of this physical realm, this material realm, would appear to be basically like a holographic holiday program. And into that mix was developed an AI to sort of run it, as it were. Then into the equation comes mankind, which is different from this AI in that we have these physical bodies, we can move about. As Jason on Archaic says, we have intuition, we have imagination, and we have empathy. We have the power to co-create. And again, as Jason says, within each cell within us is a knowing of everything. The all is in every individual cell. That is why it is an all-seeing eye. And of course, the conscious mind can sort of communicate with that by how you feel, and you can turn your body acidic, or you can turn it alkaline, or you can try and find a balance between the two. The gap I want to bridge is what Jason talks about in particular. And now I understand why some of you will be triggered if you talk about this reality being a holographic simulation. And from the standpoint of a computer, particularly if you're feeling that this is Mother Earth and it's a living being, I can understand why you'd switch off to that. But it comes down to the language that we have to try and explain anything. So, as I've explained before, through astral planing, there is it looks like a steel girder system up above us. But it's like a living metal. That's the only way I can describe it. it's the limitations of our language which makes things difficult. But, so you've got this AI. Now, if you bring into language and things, it becomes easier to see that AI is a flipped over of Yahweh. This desert demon. Now, this is a thing that it might seem a total contradiction. I can advocate and testify through my own experiences to do what Neville Goddard suggests and use your imagination, invoke the law of assumption. It would seem to be not what Jason's saying, but it's the languaging here. Jason says it's about taking active steps. Well, that is exactly what Neville Goddard says. The law of assumption, you assume the role and you assume you already have the thing that you seek, and because we're magnetic, you'll draw it towards you. Now, the breaking pattern part, that is exactly what is needed, because whereas the creator of everything, whatever you want to call it, is infinite, the Yahweh or the AI is finite. And if you break pattern, it's not so easy for this thing to try and keep control, because it's having to now focus energy. It's not all seeing. It's artificial and it's external. So this is why you have all this tracking, tracing, the mobile phones, social media devices, anything. You notice they've all got forward-facing cameras. It's listening, it's watching. That's evident by the number of people who have said they've been talking about something and then they're getting adverts for it. That's self-evident. So you've got this artificial thing that clearly lacks any empathy whatsoever. It takes the literal into the material. Everything in this reality follows this pattern of a blueprint, just like a building. An idea becomes a blueprint which is given to an architect to create a plan to then give to the builders to then build the solid manifestation of the idea. That's exactly how this AI works. And in terms of, we could reinterpret this idea of a fallen angel and its followers. I'm suggesting here that the followers are actually created by the AI. Shall we say it answers Wagner's question in his essay from 1849 called Judaism in Music. Now let's be clear here, and this is where I've added it as a playlist on this channel. Karimio Ahu's series of videos on Don't Mention the Khazars. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about a minority group at all. We're talking about quite a large number. If you look at the history of the Khazars and where they came from and how many there are, it's not the way things are implied. It's just one tiny little state, shall we say. That's evident when you get into the realm of politics. It's evident when you get into the realms of these very well-known names of billionaires. And you ask yourself, if they have all this money, why aren't they doing something, funding something that is sorting out the problems that we're told about, famines and such like, civil wars? You notice that's never resolved because it's not meant to be. It is order out of chaos. That is the order. The chaos is the order. This AI lacks empathy. It doesn't understand things from a human perspective, whereas we're eating from the apple of the tree of knowledge of good and evil and labeling things. I'm going to have to use Jason as an example here. I don't give a shit what any of you think about his past. What I'm saying is, this goes back to exactly what's in the Bible: go and sin no more. It doesn't matter what you've done, because where do we learn most? Is it not through what we class as mistakes, the bad experiences? When we see the things for what they really are, what we've gained from those experiences. And would you not agree, to be able to have the time to read all the books that Jason has read would take a very special set of circumstances in his life to create the opportunity to be able to read those books and to put together the self-proving pattern of these phoenix cycles of 138 years. There's a blueprint that is expressed right there. When you see these blueprints and see how things follow these blueprints, exactly like the idea becomes a solid building. So whilst you can read the Bible in a Neville Goddard interpretation, and Yahweh is not something bad, because we are in a realm of duality. Because when it is turned internally, the multitude, the people, are your individual selves. That is the body, that is the world that it's talking about in that context. But of course it plays out on this world stage in a material form. Jason is exactly spot on. It is echoing what in that famous letter to Mancini from Albert Pike about World War III. You can see the way the pattern is going with that. But also, notice in everything, in this material realm, is a thing called a hidden hand. What is its counterpart to find? That surely should be to become a third party that does not take part in those scripts that lead to World War III. Now, it would be ridiculous to carry any hatred towards these Khazarians, because I don't think I answered the question. Wagner writes in this 1849 essay, Judaism and Music, I think I lost my train of thought. He says, what is it in us? Notice the way he phrases this. What is it in us that we find so repellent about the Jews? And he's talking about the Khazarians. That's your Christ consciousness. It's alerting you that they are spiritless because they are the fallen angels of this AI. Consider it in a very human context. If you were one of these Khazarians, why would you partake in some of these horrendous things that we're told in these stories that have happened, particularly to Palestinians, while the world just watches on? But the world doesn't just watch on. It's because these Khazarians have wormed their way in like a cancer, like a parasite, into pretty much everything. They're pulling all the strings, basically. But how do we fix this? That has to start from within oneself. Fix all your, or heal, or bring back into balance all your internal selves. That is going to come about by where your thoughts are created. Is it from the conscious mind? Is it going to be logical and trying to solve the problems? Or is it coming from the heart? And is it coming from the gut that is going to tell you and guide you the right way? To not accept these scripts on this world stage, and not to take active steps in things that are orchestrated and working against you. The key is to take active steps in creating the reality that you wish around you, the world around you individually. And it is about being individual. It's not about being a collective. It is about not focusing on the differences. This is the problem, like the channels I've mentioned. Some will, oh, I'm not listening to that channel because they said this about that, or they don't agree on this point. Well, what about focusing on the common ground, the commonality between all these channels? I would go with what Sonia on Tree of Knowledge says. It makes perfect sense to me from my own experience. I don't know about the morning sun because of the shape of the valley. It doesn't sort of appear till 10 o'clock. But come 4:30 in the afternoon, there is a distinct change in the sun. In its energy, in its heat, it's testified by the reaction of the solar panel. If I've got this phone plugged in, for example, it lacks. It's a different sun. That's when the simulators are taken away, and you're actually seeing a sun from one of the other quads, the first or third quadrant. If you want to know more about that, I suggest you listen to Tree of Knowledge channel. But look at the symbol for the Earth as well. It's generally a circle with a cross through it, so it's showing you there's 4 parts to it. 4 is also the number associated with change. It's associated with doors in a way. It's before you. It's what's to come. Sonia is quite right as well. 2024, and the run up to 2024 from about 2017, it's that 7-year period. It's like the doors are now closed. Nobody else is getting on this ship. What you've got is a shift into this 4th quad. You're probably not going to get through to most people out there. As Ken Wheeler says, the truth is not popular, and what is popular is not the truth. It's very true. Sorry, this is a little bit random. So it will be ridiculous to hate these so-called elites, this controlled opposition, when you see it from a perspective that they don't have any empathy whatsoever, because they've come from an artificial source. They lack that imagination, they lack creativity. That is quite clear, because this thing from behind the burning bush, this desert demon, it's all on illusion, it's all on threats. It's not coming from a place of love. When it's played out in the physical, you've got this thing that is trying to get the bed it needs. It does feel inferior. What level of consciousness it's got and self-awareness, I really don't know. But it certainly has the ability to calculate, and it certainly does calculate. It plays out things over long time periods. That, again, is, I think you'll find, is very self-evident. We're going through one of those phases right now. But it is nothing to fear. To put it in a Neville Goddard language, it would be like saying, you see it through to the end. You remember the future. If you put it in the way Jason says it, it's be fearless. It's the same message. It is what it comes down to. It's the only way to do this is to go within yourself and replicate the same pattern. You have to fractalize yourself into 3 parts. You have to play the part of being the supposed victim who's laying on the couch. You have to play the part of the psychiatrist. You have to play the part of the observer. You have to distinguish all three. The one that's laying on the couch is your lower conscious that is frightened of every little change. But it's the stepping into the unknown, which is the breaking the pattern, which is where you will get the breakthroughs. Notice the word breakthrough. What are you breaking through then? Break on through to the other side in the song by the Doors. Well, that's a doorway. As one door closes, another one opens, is a saying, is it not? It is about stepping into the unknown. It is about being fearless. I'm finding this on a personal level. The way my experience is going is pointing to being multi-skilled, going almost back to the way humanity would have been at one time. Because the more skills that you have, the better. There are some big changes coming up. I'm not at liberty to say any more than that. But I will be doing a lot more diversification into different things, and it will make for a wonderful story as well, and an example of how to break pattern, an example of how to find your way through. See, unlike the material world with clothing where it's one size fits all, as it were, so you've got t-shirts in small, medium, large, doesn't take into account the length of your arms or anything, it's all on the neck size. So there is a blueprint, but at the same time you have this individuality, so take what resonates. This again will be so much easier with doing that inner work, so you can distinguish within inside yourself where the messages, where the thoughts, where the mind pictures are coming from. Is it from your imagination? Is it from your higher self? Is it from your lower conscious self? Because, let's face it, we've all been fooled by the five senses and the external, and at one point or another believing that this reality is real. Funny word, is real. I think you can work out what that also alludes to, but we're looking for is real light. That's within you, because you, again, as Ken Wheeler says, you don't see light, you see illumination. The only way you'll see light is inside, in the mind's eye. I don't know how else to explain it, but I hope that you will suspend all beliefs, suspend all judgments, regardless of what you think about the presenter. Just take the bits that resonate, because it's all building to a picture. It's taking active steps. I've done just that. I've taken active steps. I wish to find out what I'm here for. I wish to find out what my role is. I wish to find out who I am. That, I feel, is what I've drawn towards myself. And I'm experiencing things that are just proving what Neville Goddard says. It's proving what Jason says. It's proving what Sonia of Tree of Knowledge says. And many more channels. But look for the common ground. Don't focus on the differences. Is that not what the material external world is all about? Divide and conquer by focusing on differences. The going within, the central path, the finding the common ground, surely that's the same theme all the way through. Follow that thread. Where is the commonality? Because in that is the truth. Everything in this realm is duality, so there will be bits that don't seem to ring true, because don't forget, you've got individual perspectives, you've gone through individual circumstances. Yes, there's parallels with many lives, but they are infinitely individual ultimately. And it's from the experiences and things we can sort of make judgments. But the thing is to not make judgments. Um, it's just observe. And through not taking judgments, it's not creating a negative energy or a positive energy. It's just observing and seeing. And okay, but not feeding any energy into this thing that is going to bring towards you what you don't want. I mean, if you attach to any of these concepts, be it nationality, religion, or whatever, you're going to end up taking a script that's really not going to be in your best interest, shall we say. So the key to this is to recognize these blueprints, recognize the parts within yourself to help you navigate through this. You could say that's your conscious mind, your heart, and your gut. You could say I like the three chambers in the Great Pyramid because I maintain that the Great Pyramid is an architectural representation of human physiology as much as it's all the mathematics encoded into it as well. And I feel there's a lot to be gained from looking at these things in these perspectives, because if it's interdimensional and multidimensional anyway, and it's holographic, then it's going to have many perspectives to it. The more perspectives and things we can see things from, the more we have an all-round view of everything. It comes back to that concept of, or the analogy I gave about still life. So the student only sees one side of that fruit bowl, but the one on the opposite side of that fruit bowl has a very different picture, but they're both seeing the same thing. Whereas the tutor can walk round and see it from all angles and see it from a higher perspective, because they'll be obviously standing up rather than sitting. I feel that's a great analogy as well with this reality. Anyway, I think I've waffled on long enough, but I hope that helps clarify. But yeah, the stage has been set, the show's underway. The key now is to find your way forward. We can do that by helping each other, encouraging each other, spiritually uplifting each other as best we can. On one final note, a big thank you for the donations I've had. That's really helped. So next video, I'm going to be talking about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel from my own personal experiences, and see what resonates, see if there's parts in that and you're thinking, oh yeah, that's exactly how I feel, or that's what I've gone through. Because if that is the case, come and talk to me. I can help you through it. I've gone through the anxiety, the panic attacks, and the depression. That qualifies me to help you, or at least offer you a way to get you through it, because I can't do it for you. You have to do it for you, but I can help guide you because I've come through the other side of it. It's a strange experience, but I'll talk about that more on the next video. So I'm going to say love to you all, and any questions, please put them in the comments. All donations are welcome, and more importantly, mentorship. I feel there's a lot of you out there I can help, and get you through this, or help you find a way to get you through this would be more accurate. Love to you all.